Much for having me. Hi, I'm Melissa Esplin. I run calligraphy.org and I'm working with Sakura today. We are doing a fun back to school bookmark that says either I loves books or bookworm. And we're going to use Sakura neon watercolors and the retractable pen. If you're not familiar with the retractable pen, they launched last year. New colors have come this year. They are so much fun to use and they are a staple on my desk. So I hope they'll become a staple on your desk as well. We're going to work today on a final project of the bookmark, like I mentioned before, but we will also be working on theory on how to create block letters with a flat brush. Now, this is a bit of an amalgamation between Neuland style, a little bit of Romans, a little bit of just modern Melissa theory worked right in there. So we're really just having fun. We're not working so strictly on structure and theory. We're playing and having fun. So just keep that in mind, but we are putting some theory in there in the mix. So you'll learn a little bit of theory, you'll learn some techniques on how to hold the brush, how to manipulate the brush, how to use watercolor with your brush, and how to make these really fun, blocky, bold letters with the watercolor and let those colors run and play together. So a little bit about me. I'm a calligrapher and artist. I've been teaching calligraphy online and off since 2010. I love it. Letters are my passion. I come from Utah. I live literally on top of a mountain and I love being outdoors. So I love mixing all the things indoors, outdoors, crafty, paper, and art together whenever I can. So let's get started. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Our lovely Nicole will be just popping them to me whenever they're relevant, whenever they pop up. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, this is a really fun class. We're going to give you some theory. We're going to give you some tips and everything, but don't feel so stressed that you have to follow everything perfectly. So we're playing, we're having fun. One of the things that I really like about calligraphy that drew me into it is we live in a digital age. There's a font for everything. However, fonts can't necessarily replicate the human hand. It tries to, it gets pretty close, but the human hand is really those organic, misshapen spots, the color variation, you can't really replicate that on a computer or digitally. So that's one of the reasons why I love it so much, is it because it's so personal. So I use this style on envelopes, in my journals, on bookmarks. So I'd love to see you play around with how you can implement that, gifting things to people. So there's a book called Keep Going. It's for artist's block. It's by Austin Kleon. And one of his tips of advice is to get in touch with your gifts, make gifts. So we're going to make a gift, something that we can give away and celebrate the school season. So let's get started. I'm really excited to show you exactly what we're doing. So here are some samples that I've done. And these are I'm just really playing around. If you look very carefully, I'm not lettering exactly on top of these block forms. I'm allowing that negative space to really have fun and be like, it's just sparkle throughout the layout. I've also, so we've got Bookworm and I Love Books up here. I've quickly cut it out with an X-Acto knife. We don't necessarily have to do that today, but I do like the shapes, the little pokey corners that come out, and it creates this really dynamic structure and texture. I'm keeping my palette relatively limited. You can do every color you want. You can do just one color, but I would recommend for today doing like 2 colors, maybe 3 colors. We're going to play around. So the materials that we're using today, I've got my Sakura KOI CAC palette. It's got neon colors and metallic colors. I've gone ahead and pre-wet the pigments, so you see how glossy those are. I have a little eyedropper off camera, and I'll just drop some water in there just to make sure that those colors are ready to go. If you wet your pigments with a little bit of water, let it sit, and if you have time to do a little bit of hot water, you'll get more vibrant colors. So, and it's also less damaging to the bristles of your brush. So I like to pre-wet my watercolors beforehand. The other thing we're going to use today is a flat brush, and we can go pretty much any size. So I've got, I think this is a 1/2 inch. This is 3/8. This is a 1/2 inch. This, I believe, is like 5/8. So they're just barely different sizes from each other, but they look exactly the same. You can use whatever flat brush you want. What I do want you to look for in a flat brush, so I've got a flat brush right here. See how wide it is on the thinnest part of the section? Let's compare it with this one. See how narrow that is? Let's see if we can zoom in nice and close. So see, this doesn't give me a very thin stroke on the edge. This gives me a nice thin stroke on the edge. So you want to be looking for a brush that can give you a nice thin stroke. So it tapers on the one edge, but then it's wide and flat on the other. So this kind of brush, while great, is not going to get you quite the results that you're looking for. This is what we're looking for, okay? So I'm going to use this Simply Simmons brush. It's a 3/8. I might switch to a bigger one just to make sure that you can see everything that you need. And then we have the retractable jelly roll pens. And I have a pencil here. It's always good to use a pencil. So one of the things that I noticed, I'm a part of an organization called the International Association of Master Penmen, Engrossers, and Teachers of Handwriting. It's called IAMPITH for short. It's a total mouthful. One thing that we have conferences every year. I go to the archives and look at the beautiful examples from master penmen from across the eras. And one thing that I notice is even the best calligraphers still used a pencil. So I'm going to extend that invitation to each one of you today that you can also use a pencil. And we love having pencil remnants on our page. It shows your humanness. It shows where you came from. So I am a big fan of penciling things out. Okay, so let's get started with these letters. We're going to start with family groupings. So you see this is just some practice that I did. Not so fun. It's all nice and crunchy and messy and everything. And we're going to use a gridded paper for our practice, and then we're going to use a watercolor paper for the final project. So we're going to start out with our straight letters. Those are our first letters that we're going to do. Then we're going to work on our more curvy letters that have some straights in it, then our circular letters, then our diagonal letters. And we've got a lot of options with our diagonal letters. I'm going to try and cover each letter at least once, maybe twice, just depending upon the time that we have. I want to work through this as quickly as possible. But feel free to check this video out on YouTube, pause, play, slow, rewind, and all that stuff. So, okay, let's start out with the letter I. And with the letter I, we're going to talk about how we're going to hold the pen or the brush. Sorry, I'm used to saying pen, and I'll probably call my brush a pen multiple times today. So, we need to talk about how to hold our brush. It's very, very important that we hold it correctly. We don't want to be crouched in here. We don't want to suffocate our brush because the brush actually needs to breathe and move. We're going to use a few different grips. So we want to be able to manipulate this brush so that we can create a variety of lines. So you can hold it like this, and it's going to be the same versus like righties versus lefties. You want your index finger and your thumb on either sides of the barrel, your middle finger either in front or behind to stabilize it, and you want the brush to be upright, perpendicular to your paper. That's going to give you a lot of control. You can change the pitch. You can also rotate your brush. You want to be able to move and manipulate the brush. You want the brush to have all this room to breathe and move inside your hand. So keeping a loose and relaxed grip is going to be key. Now, that's easier said than done. We're all learning something new here today. Whenever I learn a new hand, I am so tense when I'm holding my writing instrument. So I will tend to do these things and over grasp my pen or my brush, and it creates like all this pressure inside my hand. So because you're learning so many things, you're trying to hyper focus, and just know that as these letters come more easily to you, you'll be able to relax and remember to relax your grip. So we'll talk about that grip just a little bit more. But we're going to create our first stroke, and I've got my watercolor palette. I'm grabbing my magenta, and a good practice for any kind of watercolor painting, whether it's letters or figures or flowers, you want to take the pigment from the pigment well and take it over to the palette. And this is going to allow you to manipulate the pigment. So it gives you a room to dilute it, make it thicker, make it darker, make it lighter, change a lot of things. Whereas if you go straight to paper, you don't really have that option or opportunity. Okay, I loaded up my brush, fully loaded. I want to get as much pigment into this brush as possible. And then I'm going to start just a stroke. We're going to write our stroke from top to bottom, and we're just practicing this downstroke. Am I using my fingers to pull it down? No, I'm actually using my whole arm and my shoulder to pull this brush down. So this is our first essential stroke. We're just going down, and this is what makes the letter I. And you'll notice, are my lines a little wobbly? Yes. Are they a little shaky? Yes. Does that matter? No, it really doesn't. What's important is maintaining a good position and using your whole arm to draw that stroke down. Okay. So the next stroke that we're going to be using today is a horizontal stroke. So I pull towards my body. Now with a horizontal stroke, I'm literally rotating my brush and moving it away to the right. I don't ever go from right to left. So for lefties, let's change this view so you can see just a little bit better. So if I were a lefty and going from left to right, I'm not going to hold the brush sideways like this, because then that's digging the bristle brush into the paper. We actually want to lead it. So I'm going to come over here and bring my hand to the other side. And I'm peeking over my left hand over this side so that I can see the brush stroke as it's coming through. Okay. So this is about a milk-like consistency here. And because I'm not doing major washes or anything, I don't necessarily have to, I'm not seeing any show through. It's perfectly fine to do our practice sheets. And even then, this is a practice sheet. I'm not too terribly concerned about making every practice page frameable.
Melissa, do you use any sort of pages or stuff underneath to prevent moisture from bleeding through? Like when you're
No,
okay.
no. And like I mentioned, this is all practice. And I really don't care about my practice pages getting messy. And I think there's a certain freedom in not worrying about your practice pages getting messy. If it bleeds through to the other side, no big deal. Just use that other paper just as well. It works just fine. Okay. So the next stroke that we're going to do is a curved stroke. So this is where we want a little bit of visualization. If you do not have gridded paper, I would highly recommend drawing out a 4-quadrant grid. So let's do that. So I'm just going to draw a square and then in half and in half. Okay, that's my 4-quadrant grid. Let's see if I can zoom in just a little bit more. Okay, this is where we're going to visualize each one of those quadrants, and we want to be able to use that movement of the brush as we go. So I'm going to switch my view just one more time. Hopefully you can see that. We can repeat the stroke, but I'm basically trying to hit this mark, this mark, this mark, and this mark. And I'm rotating my brush so that I can hit those marks as I get to those endpoints. So one of the best things that you can do as a calligrapher or as a lettering artist is to visualize where you're going to end up. You don't need to look at your pen where it is at the moment. You want to look where you want to go. And this is something that applies to just about any hobby. Look where you want to go. So I'm holding my pen upright. I'm allowing my pen. So I'm fixing my brush between my third and fourth fingers, and I'm using my index and thumb to give me that room to rotate. And I'm dragging that pigment so that I can achieve that first quadrant. And I want to continue. Now, could I do a whole quadrant this way? Yes, I can, but I prefer, it's more comfortable for me to start from the top and work my way around the bottom left side. And I'm just slowly moving. I'm trying to keep that pressure even. And I can come back in here and retouch these strokes to make sure they're a little bit more even. But that is basically how we get our O. Our oval shape is we're just working our way around these quadrants. And again, this is a brush style. So we're using watercolor, which gives us a lot of movement and texture. So we don't need an exactly perfect circle. We need the humanness. That's what we need in this particular project. Okay, so we're ready to start working on those letters. Now, when it comes to letters, each one of you may have a different size brush today. So what I would suggest is we work between 2.5 and 3 brush widths tall. That's the proportion that we want to work with. We have a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to start at this top right-hand corner of this box right here. And I'm going to draw a little brush mark. And then from that end, I'm going to draw another brush mark. And then I'm going to draw another brush mark. So if I wanted to go 3 brush widths tall, I need to go all the way out to here. But the thing is, we're working with a grid. keeping track of that is a little obnoxious. And we really want to do between 2.5 and 3. So anywhere in between there is going to be great. So I'm going to keep my height just at the grid mark. So I'm doing 4 boxes tall. That's the proportion that I'm going to do. So if you're working with a smaller brush or a larger brush, you may be doing 5 boxes tall or 3 boxes tall, anywhere in between there. But you want to do this particular graph right here with your brush just about every time you're doing practice work. And this will give you the proportion that you need so that your letters stay consistent from one practice session to the next because you're working with the same proportion. So that's what we're going to work with. We're doing 4 boxes tall today. 4 boxes. And what I'll do, sometimes I'll just come in with my pencil and just highlight the first line and and the bottom line of the 4th box so that I stay on target. I keep those letters the same height because calligraphy is all about muscle memory. If we don't keep those bounding boxes in check, our calligraphy will get all over the place every time. And then we're not building that muscle memory. And then what is our practice for? So just keep that in mind. Okay, we're going to start with the letter I, which we basically already did. I'm going to get some more pigment. So our I start at the top, work our way down, pull with your whole arm, stop, and then lift. And because this brush touches, we have it at a slight angle, kind of want to stop just before you reach the bottom. That way it doesn't go all the way past your guideline. Okay? All right. We have our I. The next letter we're going to do is the T, and we want to move a little bit farther over. We want to allow room for this crossbar. So I'm going to draw that downstroke, pause and lift. And then I'm going to rotate my brush, and I'm going to draw a crossbar and overlap those strokes. And you can play around with the width. This ratio right here is a way to get creative. So you could do a really wide one, but that's going to tell all your other letters that they need to be wide too. Or you could do a really short one. And that's going to allow your letters to be a little bit more condensed. So if you're running out of space, you can condense your letters just a little bit. Okay, the H, we want to make it basically a square. So I'm doing my downstroke, and then I'm almost 4 boxes over, like 3.5 boxes over. And then instead of going across this way, I'm actually doing a downstroke, just a little one. I'm going just above this midpoint here and a little downstroke. So it's not the full width of the brush. That gives you a little bit of open space. And we'll do that same thing with the A when we get to it, and the E and the F. So the E, the F and the E we're going to do next. We do our downstroke. And then we go to the top bar, and the top bar is going to be that full width. And then the bottom crossbar here, I'm going to start at that midpoint, and I'm just going to go down just a little bit. It's going to be smaller. We don't want to place as much emphasis on that. Okay, let's do the E. I'm just going 1 box down. We're doing really only capital letters here. I'm sure you could play around with the lowercase letters, but for the sake of today, you really don't need to. The E, we do our downstroke. And we do our top crossbar at that full width and our bottom crossbar at the full width. And then if we did this less than, 2 boxes tall, we wouldn't have enough room here for the crossbar of the E. So then I go and I do a vertical, just little boop down there. And we've got our E. Okay. Now we're going to do the L, which is our downstroke, and the bottom part of our E. We want to make that about roughly half or maybe a little more than half as wide as it is tall. Okay, we're going to do K and J. With the letter K, we have a diagonal, so we're kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but we're keeping it more or less the same. So the K is coming straight down, stop, and then I'm coming over, I'm keeping my pen angle the same, this is just this flat 0 degrees, and I'm coming in and I'm going out. So I want to keep this intersection point just above center. Again, if your hand just goes below center, that's fine. We're following our hand. We're doing whatever comes out. Okay, and the J, there are 2 ways to do the J. The first way, the way that we're going to do it, because it's really the easiest, simplest, and it does add quite a bit of texture to the final work. We're starting off like we did our I, and then we pass this bottom baseline right here. We're passing that, and we're just scooping a little bit to the left. And this doesn't scoop up at all. It just creates a slight round. It's almost like, it's like 1/8 of a slice of pizza. Okay, there's another way we could do the J, and this leads us into our next grouping of letters. And this way, we start off with our downstroke, and then we curve. We want to use that manipulation. So I'm going to stop about just below half. I'm going to come over here and do a little dot here. This is what I want to aim for. So I'm going to come over here and rotate my brush until it gets to that point. If I have to retouch, that's fine. And then I come up here just below the halfway point, and I come back into it. That was a bit of a messy J as I'm bleeding into this first one. So you want to make sure you have enough room on that left-hand side. So I'm coming down here and I'm rotating just before I hit the bottom, and I can lift, and then coming just below the center line around and rotating that brush around. These next strokes are going to be a little rough. They're going to feel very tough. And the nice thing about this particular style is it's very forgiving. And what we'll do on the decorative end at the end of this class will forgive all of those, what we see as mistakes, but it's all just happy accidents. Okay, the next letters we want to focus on are the P and the B and the R. They're all relative to each other. So the P starts with that main downstroke. And I don't typically do any counter spaces in this particular style. What is the counter space? That is this interior space. So in the letter O and Q, there will be a counter space. But with the letter P, because we have a much tighter rotation, I'm not going to do it. Just going to start here and go all the way around and basically pivot around the left side of my brush and just rotate it around. So that's our letter P. The B is very similar to the P, except the top of the B is smaller than this top of the P. So we want to make it just a little bit tighter. And if you just overlap a little bit, We get it. And then we're doing the bottom part, and if the bottom part ends up with a counter space, that's fine. We're going to make the bottom part bigger, and it comes all the way around. So you see there's a tiny bit of counter space right there. See that? Just that little pinhole of white right there. Okay. All right, we're going to do our R. The R is going to be very similar where we have our downstroke. And then we have our top curve that comes in. And this is going to be more like the P than it is the B, because we're making that top part just a little bit bigger. And then I'm coming from this, the bottom quadrant of the curve, and I'm pulling out. So I went below the baseline here. That got a little messy, but that's fine. But I'm still keeping this triangle of negative space here because that's what helps it read as an R. Let's do that just one more time. Downstroke and rotation. And then pull from here to make our R. And if you need to go through, and I'm going to touch this up just a little bit, we've got the letter R. Okay, the U is basically, we want to keep it about 2/3 as wide, or maybe almost a full box, but it's not quite the full width of a square. I'm going to start going down. It's very much like the J where I go down and I create that curve at the bottom quadrant, and I lift because it's just easier to do this in 2 strokes. Then come down and I make that turn and I make those 2 meet up. So I've got this blob of deeper pigment there. I can disperse it and just try and even things out a little bit, or I can leave it as is, and that creates a fair amount of texture. Okay, the S, this S, there are 2 ways we can approach it, and let me tell you, both are pretty tricky. The letter S is just tough. So we could approach it just like this J, where we keep our brush relatively flat, or we could approach it kind of like we did the B or the O, and we're constantly moving that brush around. So I'm going to do, well, the first S is going to be a little bit less than 3/4, but a little bit more than a half. We're going to start from the top and a little bit of an angle, not totally flat, a little bit of an angle. I'm coming in and just creating a little zigzag. It's a very curved zigzag. And the top zig is smaller than the bottom zag. So this is emphasized right here. Now, the next one we can do, and hopefully I can demonstrate it well on camera, is the other S, which is going to be 3/4. We want the top part to be a very tight C and the bottom to be a looser, but still relatively tight C. That's what we're looking for. And we're creating basically 0 negative space here. It's just, it's making a statement for sure. So I'm going to start at an angle, this is about 45-degree angle. I'm working my way around and I'm pivoting around that right side of the brush. See if I can put more pigment on the page. And then I'm immediately pivoting and rotating around the left side of the brush. So I have a little bit of negative space on the bottom and none on the top. So 2 very different outlines, very fun shapes, different types of texture. So You could interchange them, but typically speaking, I'll do either this S and this J, or this S and this J. And those two I will use together as a stylistic choice. Okay, now we're moving on to our circular letters. These circular letters are tricky. They're tricky. But we've got this. I believe in you. I believe in me. We've got this. So let's visualize it first on our grid. So let's start with the O, and everything stems from it. So we've got our O, our square, and I've divided it into 4 quadrants. And we can mark this. I'm going to mark it just a little bit here. Top, bottom, side, side. This is going to give me my visualization that I need in order to make this happen. So I'm going to start, make sure that your brush is upright, rotate that all the way around, come back down and lift. So we create our backwards C, and then come back over from the top, rotate around, try to fill that whole space, and meet up at the bottom. So that is our letter O. So we look at how organic this is. It's very organic, and I'll use the side of my brush to refine that shape just a little bit, but I'm still keeping it relatively organic. I'm not going to fuss with it forever, and I don't recommend you fussing with it either. Okay. All right, let's start with the letter C. I'm going to switch to horizontal with my practice paper. Something I should have done when I first started the class today, but this is going to allow me more letters in one line. So I'm going to start with my letter C. And the C is going to be almost the full square. It's going to be like maybe more than 3/4, but not quite. So I'm going to start, see if we can get that in focus. I have my quadrants. So those 3 quadrants I'm going to be focusing on. I can work from the top to the right, and then from the top to the left and down. And I'm making that curve all the way around. And retouching as necessary. But we've got our letter C. All right, the G, we're going to have it very similar, where it's like 3/4, just more than 3/4. We start the same way, but we're going to add just a little bit more to the end of that. So we start at the top, work our way down, then come over at the top, work our way to the left and down. Make sure that we have good visualization of that final stroke. And I finished just a little bit shy of that 3/4 mark. And here I'm going to come in with a straight line down. So I'm pretty much at a full square at this point, because I've got this crossbar right here that's pulling me all the way into that full 4x4 space. Okay. All right, the letter D. So with the letter D, we're still looking at that 4-quadrant space. I'm going to start with my downstroke, and then I'm going to work my way around, visualizing those 4 quadrants. So work down. Then with my pen or my brush upright, I'm going to work it all the way around. Start from the top, kind of have a straight lead in, curve on that top right quadrant. And if I'm feeling a little less confident coming all the way back around and down, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. And I can work on just getting those lines nice and tidy. Okay. All right, the Q, we can approach this again in the whole quadrant. It's going to take up all 4 spaces. We're going to do our O, our circle. Start on the top right quadrant, work our way down and around. And then work from the top to the bottom left, all the way down. Went a little far wide on that. And then I'm going to do just a diagonal slash. So I go from the bottom left to the top right just a little bit. So it has a bit of a descender. It pokes through this bottom space here just a little bit. And there I've got my Q. So we've just done pretty much the most difficult letters of the alphabet. And with the diagonal letters, we're going to take the easy approach. There are so many approaches for us to take, but the easiest one so that we can finish our project today. So I'm going to do diagonal, stroke down, and I'm going to overlap that stroke right here, diagonal down, and just like with the E, I'm going to just dash. All right, our V, my pen angle is still quite flat. Lift. And then I'm going to start, I want to mirror this, right? I want to start on this side and work my way down. That's going to give me the most power and control. Keep it flat and down. Okay, the W. And I'm making these V's a little skinnier than this V, just a little narrower, so that this W isn't so crazy. But I do still want to have nice negative space here, here, and here. All right, the X is a little tricky because we want to have this, we want to have the negative space. So we start from the top, left, bottom, right, and then we want to start about right here and work our way left so that we have a little bit more space on the bottom than we do on the top. So the left of my bristle brush is going to touch that mark, and I'm going to work my way down. So that I'm going to retouch a little bit, put a little bit more on this side. There's my X. The Y is a tiny V up here. And then I pull down with straight. So the top half of the X and the top half of my Y are going to be pretty much the same. And then the last one is the N. The N we want to visualize in just like we did the H. So I'm going about just wider than three quarters. And then I'm connecting the dots from this top right corner to that bottom left corner. And I'm really just connecting the dots there. So there we've got our N. And we've done all of the letters of the alphabet in under an hour, which I feel like is a fantastic feat for all of us. We've got to pat ourselves on the back. We are amazing. and we are going to move on to our project. So now that we know the whole alphabet, we can do anything we want. We also have the theory we have in place to make, it doesn't just have to say bookworm, it can say a friend or a loved one's name on there too. So I'm going to move this to the side. We're going to get started on our bookmark. I'm going to put a little bit of dark paper underneath here so you can actually see what I'm working on. Okay. So for the sake of time, we're going to do I Heart Books. And this is a strip of paper, roughly, I don't know, maybe 8.5 inches wide. And I'm going to use the supply that we didn't have on our materials list, and I'm going to use a watercolor pencil. This watercolor pencil is really great because I can map out my project and it'll all disappear as soon as I add pigment or as soon as I add water to it. So, I'm gonna do that. I want to show you the spacing first. So it's going to be pretty big. Let's switch our view here. I'm going to go darker just so you can see what I'm working on. I and heart. We're going to make our heart. I want the round and circular shapes. Let's see if we can focus on that. I want the round and circular shapes to touch each other. I want them to overlap. Okay. I'm going to add an exclamation point. So we want these letters to overlap. When it comes to spacing, so two straight lines, so like your I and your L, you want them to be a little bit farther apart. Now, a straight line and a circular line, you want them to be a little bit closer. A circular and a circular, you want them to be as close, they want to hug each other. So that's your general rule of thumb when it comes to creating pleasing spacing. So I'm going to get a slightly bigger brush and I'm going to use, we're going to use our blue and green neon pigments. So I'm coming over here and adding just a little bit more water, get them really happy. And I want to create a lot of pigment on my palette so that I can just come over here and quickly dip and go. Actually, I might change my mind. We're going to do yellow. So one of the fun things about neons is they're so vibrant and bright, and when they mix with each other, they're still so vibrant and bright. So I'm going to mix up a bunch of blue and a bunch of yellow because on the color wheel, blue and yellow are not next to each other. They're just one step away from each other. Green is in the middle of it. So this already kind of mixed a little bit to make green. But the cool thing is if you skip, so if you go blue to yellow or blue to pink, and you skip purple or you skip green, is you then are creating three colors, a three-color system, but only with two colors. So you have this beautiful harmony within the two colors because you're using a simple color palette, but then they're coming together and creating another vibrant third color that complements everything so well. So this is called an analogous color theme, but we're really focusing mostly on like the outside of that analogous. So the blue and the yellow. So I've got a fair amount of both. And I'm going to start off the eye with blue, just because I don't like starting off my letters with yellow if I'm skipping colors, because yellow, it can get lost. So I'm going to grab that blue. And I'm going to draw my eye. You'll see my pencil work because I was very dark with drawing these pencil lines. So this is the eye that we've studied. However, if we want to add a serif to the top and the bottom, I think we can, just because it's standing by itself and we want it to stand out just a little bit more. Is this traditional theory? No, it is not, because we want to add serifs to everything else. But for this particular case in which the eye is by itself and I want to just add a little bit more texture, I'm going to do that a little bit later once this is dried and we can mix some colors together. Okay, I'm going to create the heart with my yellowish green. And I'm coming around, I'm going to do that same circular motion around and down. And I'm going to create that heart. And then I'm going to grab some of that blue and just dab it in there. I don't want to overwork it, because I want to let the watercolor do what it wants to do. All right. Books. We're going to start with that yellow. Downstroke. And then I'm going to pull some of the blue. And I'm going to make my top stroke. And then grab some yellow again. And create my downstroke. These colors are getting muddled and muddy. And that's what I want. I want all these colors to blend in together. Okay, I'm going to grab my blue. And I'm going to draw my O. And this is where I can overlap things. Now, if you want more of a contrast between the B and the O, we'll want to wait for each letter to dry. So penciling it in beforehand and then painting every other letter will give you that layering effect. So I'll demonstrate that here with the other O. I want more of a layering effect. So I'm going to skip that and do the K. Grab some of that yellow. And then the S, I'm going to do my lazy S. I'm going to make that big. And then my exclamation point. I'm going to dip in some blue. So this first O has had a little bit of time to dry, so I'm going to come in here with the remainder of my yellow. And I'm going to do an oval, or a circle, I mean. So it's not pulling nearly as much pigment, but it's still pulling some pigment. This has had some time to dry, so I'm going to show you those serifs. And this is, again, this is a serif that I really use only if the eye is by itself. And I don't necessarily add serifs to any of the other letters. I'm going to come over here and just do a little narrow pull to the top and the bottom. And it creates this fun plaid effect. So we can play around with the dryness and the wetness to create different layering effects with our brush. So such a fun project because we get to get comfortable and play around and let the watercolor do its thing while we're still doing really fun calligraphy. I really love this particular style. I've been using it a lot lately in my journals, and I really can't get enough of it. So when it comes to adding our detail, we want to get our pens. These are my favorite. They're so fun. These retractable pens, I have them on my desk at all times, everywhere. They're really just so, so wonderful. We're going to use the black sparkle because that's going to show up here the best. And there are a couple of things that we can do with this outline. We can offset it, or we can sort of fix our mistakes with it. So if one of our O's just got a little bit wobbly and wonky, we can round that out with this. And so then our eye sees the better version, and it's much more pleasing. So I'm going to do a little offset on this heart. I think it's ready. It's all pretty wet. I'm kind of rushing it a little bit because we're a little bit low on time at the moment. But I'm going to come around here and I'm going to add my outline. So I'm going to outline this heart. Since I have lots of space, I'm going to outline it equally with a lot of negative space. And one thing you can do, which I really do enjoy, is whenever there's an interior corner, we can do a little loop, and only on interior corners. We don't do it on exterior corners like these. We just do them on interior corners like that. So we can then come over here and add a loop. We have a fun little effect there. Then we can offset things. So if I have my K here, but I really want to push into this negative space here, I can come over and offset to one side. So I can come and just cut into my block here, up. And so now I'm pushing into this negative space here, and it feels just a little bit more balanced. So that's another thing we can do. We can do all of these things within our bookmark. There's no one rule saying we have to. So I can do an offset here, where I'm going through it. Or the other is we can pull it and push it behind the letter. So for example, if I could just do this offset of my S, and I'm stopping whenever I hit any pigment. So I'm keeping, it's a great way if your pigment is just not drying as fast as you want it to, you can just skip that, and it creates a certain depth where that line goes behind the pigment rather than staying on top of it. The other, so with the O's, because these guys overlap, we can make these overlap. And we can change the size of our counter spaces too. So we can play around with that quite a bit. So, and then, so with this one, the B, I'm going behind. So it's creating a layering effect. So I can do that. There are all these different ways that you can treat and finalize the outlines of your block letters. And see, the B doesn't have any counter spaces in it at all. We can create those counter spaces after the fact if we want to, or leave them blank. It's entirely up to us. So we can play around with that as much as we want, and I highly recommend you do. and just have fun with it. Get another color, like a lighter one, and do some stripes in those negative spaces. Some that radiate, especially if you're working on circular surfaces or curved surfaces. So we can do it on the outside. We can also do it on the inside. So I have this blue Stardust. I can do little zigzags inside that space. And then we've got this really fun 80s cool kids on the block kind of effect for our bookmark. So hopefully this got the creative juices flowing and you've had fun with it. You weren't overwhelmed or stressed by this new, very loose style of calligraphy. And thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, I am at Melissa on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. And be sure to get yourself some Sakura Jelly Roll pens if you don't have some already, because they're just so much fun to create with. And hit me up on social if you've made anything with this project today. Thanks again so much for coming.